Welcome to the April 2nd recap of the meeting on April 2nd, 2019. Let's get into it. Some house clean items again. I hope the anchoring's going well. I know we're running out. I'm buying them as fast as I can. But again, we've got like 3 to 4 years of base stations that haven't been anchored. So it's going to be an all summer job. The key is to stay vigilant. If you come up with something that needs to be anchored that can't be, just flag a note so the next tech that goes out knows that they need to make sure they bring anchors. And we kind of know too that you wanted to but you couldn't. Second thing is make sure we're not smoking in vehicles or in front of customer stops. If you need to smoke, and I get that that's an issue, go find a parking lot, get out, cool kid it, lean up against a truck, whatever, smoke there. But let's not smoke in the vehicle or outside of customer stops. With the spring service, minimum time at stop should be 15 minutes now. We're doing a little bit more. Plus, we have the entire yard to survey, so we should be looking into the entire yard for vole and mole damage and anthills and stuff like that. Throughout the next, by the end of today, some of you will get a text message from me to come in, so Matt can either fix and or put in a water tank or whatever, so we can get you up and running by the end of the week. My goal is by the end of the week to either have everybody have a backpack sprayer and or a spray rig that's working so we can move forward. Good news is it should stop freezing overnight moving forward. So if you do have a spray rig and the water's frozen, that should happen too. Also, if you have any books for tests that have already been taken or that you decided you didn't want to take, make sure you bring them all in. Bring all your books in that you're not using so I can make sure that other techs can get those. We talked about non-treatable areas today. We don't treat areas of inaccessibility like surface level decks. We can't get underneath them. We're not going to remove boards and decking material to get at a foundation. If a customer wants to do that, that's fine. Then give us a call when that's done and we'll take a look. If not, but if they're not going to do that, we're not going to do that. We don't want to risk damaging their property. And small entry to crawl spaces. Steven had mentioned, kind of questioned that. If you can get in it, get in it. But if you can't, don't worry about it. Just explain to the customer, do what you can to treat around it. If you're claustrophobic and it's super tight and you don't feel comfortable getting in it, I'll back that. But if you can get in it, let's do that because that is part of our job. But there are things that are just too small for us to get into. So we have alternate ways to treat. If you have questions about an alternate way to treat, give me a call. Second thing is we don't treat areas that require a ladder, interior or exterior. We have one tech that has a ladder. None of you guys should tell a customer that. For their purposes, we don't do ladder work. It's just a liability around it, and we don't necessarily need to. We can treat almost anything from the ground, whether it be from inside or outside. I will suggest, though, that if you do get something that's high up, kind of look to see if there's not a window that you can remove a screen and hang out, or a customer can remove a screen you can hang out, or a deck you can get on. Try to get creative with the solution. But at the end of the day, we don't do ladders. Attics that are unfinished, we're not going to treat. If they have a dedicated attic ladder, meaning that one that folds down, we can put our head up in it and we can look around. But if they don't have that, there's nothing we can do. Same thing with attics that are finished. We can go in a finished attic if it's got a dedicated attic ladder. If it doesn't, then there's nothing we can do. Areas over a body of water like docks and boat slips, we can treat with a 25B product, but that's something we kind of need to know ahead of time. If you get out there and you don't have that product, we can't treat it. Most of our products are harmful to aquatic plants and animals, and I'll let you guys use your judgment on how close to the water you want to treat. Take an effect to drift, runoff, soil saturation, that kind of stuff. We want to make sure, I don't, 5 to 10 feet is too close to me. But if you got a shed right next to the water, you're using your B&G and you're super confident you can control that drift and everything, I'm going to let you guys make that judgment, because at the end of the day, it's the Department of Ag that'll come for you guys, not for me. So you guys have to feel comfortable doing it, not me. Now, Rove's not going to, dip and bail on you, but at the end of the day, it's your guys's that are going to get it put under a microscope. So if you don't feel comfortable doing it, I'm going to back you. All right. Gardens and other fruit-bearing plants, again, we don't do that. Same thing with pollinators. Make sure that we don't spray it. If you don't know if it's one of those, then just be safe and don't spray it. Things with gardens and like the fruit bearing plants, like the crab apples and apple trees and stuff. When people say, "Well, I don't eat them," spray it anyway. We can't, because we don't know who's eating them, who's not. We don't know if their neighbor's eating it. We don't know if a deer's eating it, a squirrel's eating it. Again, the point to what we need to do is we need to make sure that what we're targeting is what the only thing that's really interacting with it. And we can't control that with a fruit bearing plant. So if you have any questions about an area, whether you should treat it or not, shoot me a call and we'll talk about it. Next thing are flushing agents and Synergist. Flushing agents are products that stimulate movement of a pest out of its resting place. We use it in conjunction with most adult sides. Temperate and Exciter is what we use for bed bugs. It's again, the idea is to stimulate the activity of those bed bugs to move when they normally wouldn't. Same thing with cockroaches. It's an irritant. I've had techs for 565 hit the baseboards with flea treatment to get the fleas and the larvae to move away from the baseboards. So when they do the flea treatment, it's easier for them to interact with it. And then Synergist used to help target insect be more effective on the target. It slows their ability to break down the insecticide that they come in contact with. Again, that's generally mixed with an adulticide or another insecticide as well. Right now, the product that we have for it is Center Pro. Now, Center Pro and Exciter R, those are only designed for a flushing agent or a Synergist. We do have a product like Shockwave that has Synergist and flushing agents in it. Wasps and hornets, I'm just going to kind of go through the slideshow here pretty quickly. This is how we identify it: feather hairs, non-feather hairs. You can see the different rings around the bees. The darker red the ring, the more aggressive it is. The lighter the blue, the least aggressive it is. So, mud daubers, most of the short protonums, the mud daubers, the cicada killers are solitary wasps. They're not necessarily going to live in a colony. Mud daubers are going to have one tube per bee. Cicada killers are going to have one hole in the ground per bee, per cicada killer. You can see how digger wasp, not very aggressive, but European hornet, extremely aggressive. See kind of the difference there. Paper wasp, mildly aggressive. And then you have the yellow jackets, extremely aggressive. And that's kind of how we break it down. As you can see, the markings on some of the yellow jackets, the ones we're going to deal the most with are going to be the hybrid, the western, and I believe German or Western. No, maybe it's Eastern or Western. I can't really remember. It's in a later slide, but you can tell the markings on the three aren't that different. So now, one thing here, when it says when can we treat bees, that question, we can treat bees in two reasons only. One is when it's creating structural damage to the home. We can treat it then. And two, when we can verify that a customer has previously treated it. Customers will just say, oh yeah, I treated it, just to get us to take care of it. But if we can't verify that, we need to have them call a beekeeper. So if we get out there, we notify that it's honeybees and that's something we should identify before we treat. Then we let them know to call a beekeeper. The office will provide them a number. The picture you see on the screen is a red-patched bumblebee. Most bumblebees are not on the endangered list. This red-patched bumblebee is. So if you see a red-patched bumblebee, we cannot treat for that. Other bumblebees we can. But again, they're pollinators, so we should try not to. Try to educate the customer on why they're not really a big issue for them and that they're not that aggressive, just to let them be. That's the biggest mistake people think, is they swap bees and stuff off of their soda, and they get so afraid of them because there's an allergy to it. But when they swat, that's the aggressiveness. If you just pick up your soda and slowly move it, they're going to fly away. Biggest key here too is if you're looking for a certain bald-faced hornet or something, then you want to make sure that you're looking for where to look for their nests in trees and bushes. Identify what you're looking for, and then it'd be easier for you to find a nest. Now you can see pictures like Willie here. It's important. I want you guys to send me pictures of stuff like this. It's great training tools, good information, and it's kind of cool to look at. All right, that sums up. Again, I'm going to be out Thursday and Friday of this week, April 3rd and 4th. So contact Matt. If Matt can't help you or can't get a hold of him, feel free to contact me. Thank you very much, everybody, and we'll see you next week.